Most companies think that they're HR compliant until they get sued. Here's what they don't tell you. Lawyers that are out there who have an employee or former employee come to them reach out to your company. And what they're looking for are actually any kinks in the armor. They're looking for mistakes that you've made. They're looking for things that you failed to do, whether that's an out of date policy, a training that was skipped, some sort of document that wasn't signed. And they stack up all of these things that you haven't done as an organization. They bring it to your attorney and they hand it to them. And they say, listen, this isn't going to play well in court. And you know that. And as a result of that conversation, your attorney comes to you and recommends that you settle the case because it's going to cost you a lot less than actually litigating it. This is where most companies end up spending a lot of money with employee settlements or lawsuits. It's rarely that the company actually did the thing that they're being sued for. More often than not, what's happening is that the attorney that was approached and that comes to your company is able to find mistakes that you've made, areas where you were not HR compliant, and these are the things that get used against you in court or used against you in order to extort out of your organization a lot of money. Did you know that an employee handbook can actually be used against you in court? Even if you have policies in your handbook, even if you made your best effort to try to do a handbook correctly, if your handbook has out of date policies or has policies that are so complicated and so difficult to understand that there's no reasonable expectation that your employees could actually understand those policies, or if you have an attestation or a signature page at the front of your handbook instead of at the back of your handbook, these are the things that could be used against you in court and used against you by an attorney who's trying to bring a lawsuit against your organization. In fact, did you know that one outdated HR policy can expose your company to six-figure fines? It's no joke. Even though you think you're doing the right thing, an out-of-date policy is something that will actually be used against you either by a government agency that comes in and does an audit or by an attorney who's coming to your organization because an employee or former employee is suing you. You don't need more HR paperwork. What you need is the right protection. And here's the difference. Having compliance checklists where you can actually go through a list of exact things that you need to do in order to make sure that you're following the law in those locations in which you do business is the exact recipe for doing things correctly. Without that complete list, you have no idea whether or not you're actually following the law. You're simply guessing. You're out there running your business, trying to make money, and at the end of the day, you have no time and often no energy to actually chase down and try to learn all of these individual things. That's why HR Law Made Easy was created, to actually provide you with the right information, the checklists that have exact lists of things to do, just like you'd have created for your own company. If you're out there and you're cleaning gutters, or you're out there and you're building roofs or homes, or you're providing software services to a company, in every one of these organizations, you train your people on the exact things that they need to do in order to achieve the goals that you've laid out for them. It's no different with compliance checklists. It's an exact list of the things that your organization needs to do in order to follow the law. If you don't have HR lawyers involved in your business, you're gambling with your company. What I mean by that is that if you don't have someone who has a legal background, who's reviewing the laws and knows how to apply them to your business, you're in a situation where you're gambling with your company's future financially. HR Law Made Easy has a team of attorneys and HR experts who have put together all the tools, checklists, and other information that your organization needs to have in place in order to follow critically important HR laws. In fact, did you know that in 2025, numerous U.S. employment laws were added or changed at a state and federal level? It's a continuous stream of legislation. Governments at the federal, state, and local level are consistently adding new laws or changing laws, making it ever increasingly difficult to actually follow those laws. Now, their goal is not to make it difficult, but the fact is that the volume of legislation, the volume of new laws, the volume of court cases is so great that you would need a full-time attorney or team of attorneys to simply stay on top of those changes. That's why HR Law Made Easy exists, because we have all of those law updates ready for you, available for you inside of our platform so that you're not left guessing or having to hire an entire team of attorneys. Did you know that most businesses aren't actually HR compliant? It's true, even the ones with HR departments. Most HR organizations are focused on things like recruiting, onboarding, and day to day operations. Rarely does an HR department have a team of attorneys inside of it who are tasked with reading, understanding, and applying HR laws. HR compliance is a very complicated area, and even large HR departments need tools like HR Law Made Easy in order to stay on top of HR laws and updates. There's one HR mistake that costs businesses six figures, and it happens before anyone gets fired. And that's simply not knowing what all of the laws are that need to be followed and making sure that you're following them. HR compliance simply means that you're following HR laws. The word compliance is a word that's used to describe following the law. HR compliance is simply following HR laws. So before anyone gets fired, before there are any issues, the one big mistake that costs businesses six figures is not following those laws, because a failure to follow one of those laws is exactly what gets used against you as an organization when someone comes to you and sues. It's a missing policy. It's an agreement that was not drafted correctly. It's a training that was skipped. It's some other small thing. Those small things add up, and those are the things that are used to influence your attorney, your counsel, when they come to you and recommend settlement. Did you know that one employee complaint can legally trigger audits you can't stop? It's true. Unless you're prepared for these audits, unless you've actually done all the things that you're supposed to do as an organization, one employee complaint can trigger a government audit that you can't stop. They're expensive, they're time consuming, and they're terrifying. HR Law Made Easy has simplified all of this by having a clear and understandable checklist for the locations in which you do business. You are able to actually step by step follow the things that need to be done with all of the tools needed to accomplish those things. HR Law Made Easy is more than just a list of things that needs to be done. HR Law Made Easy has inside of it handbook builders and other tools that allow you to actually do the things that need to be done in order to stay legally compliant. We see the same HR mistakes over and over again, and they're the reason companies lose lawsuits that they should have won. It's rarely that a company actually does something scandalous or terrible, or is actually, in fact, guilty of the thing that they're being accused of. What happens more often than not is that there are a list of things that the organization didn't do that they were supposed to do. There were laws that they were supposed to follow that they didn't follow, and those mistakes get stacked up, brought to your attorney, and then your attorney comes back to you and says, hey, listen, our hands are tied here. We've got to settle. None of these things are going to play well in front of a judge, because no judge is going to be nice or kind or forgiving towards an organization that purposefully or failed to follow the law. This is what happens when HR experts and lawyers actually work together. You are able to actually go through a list of exact things that need to be done in order to make sure that your company is compliant, so that we close those gaps. We ensure that any and all claims that are brought against your organization are unlikely to actually succeed, so long as somebody didn't actually do the thing that you're being accused of. Because what we're doing is we're buttoning up and we're tying up the legal things that are supposed to be done within your organization. We're making sure that you're actually compliant with the HR laws, so that if anybody were to come in and say, hey, this organization is a terrible organization, you can point to the list of things that were done and everybody would agree they followed the law. This is HR Law Made Easy. We look forward to working with you.